Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Well, the weather in St. Louis is a bit sunny right now, but all day it has been hot and humid. A scorcher, as you'd expect in the Midwest here in the latter part of July. This is the start of a three-game get-together, the Reds and the Cardinals, right here on Fox Sports Ohio. And hi and a pleasant good evening, everyone, and welcome to Reds Baseball. Jim Couch along with Chris Welsh. Game one of a three-game get-together, the Reds and the Cardinals, marking the first time for the Reds in St. Louis since back in April. Chris, we know road baseball is always tough for any ball club, but from a Red standpoint, when you put Colorado and St. Louis together, it can be deadly.
Well, Jim, welcome to the booth here in St. Louis. Maybe you can change the luck of what's going on in this road trip so far, because it did not look very good in Colorado when the Reds lost 2 of 3. Not only that, but they gave up 17 runs, 10 in one inning yesterday. Against the Rockies, though, since 2002, they've had a very hard time winning. The only place harder to win than Colorado for the Reds seems like it's right here in St. Louis.
Well, meanwhile, that series did not go well in Colorado. We talked about that, losing 2 out of 3 there. But one guy that swung a big bat there was Jay Bruce.
Well, you know, Jay Bruce has got some trade rumors swirling around him. I don't know if the Reds are interested in dealing him or not. There are some teams out here scouting him. He swung the bat a lot better, really, not just over the last few series like against the Colorado Rockies, but really in the last month or so. He seems to be hitting the pitches that pitchers make mistakes on instead of fouling them back. He slowed down his front side a little bit. Nice, smooth swing. He's always had plenty of power, and he seems to be seeing the ball real big right now.
And he is hitting over 300 since the All-Star break. All right, let's take a look at the pitching matchup for tonight's game. On the Red side, the rookie Raisel Iglesias. He keeps coming, Criff, awfully close to a quality start. 1/3 of an inning away last time.
He was, and that was against the Chicago Cubs. It went away on him. He got his pitch count up there a little bit, although in that outing that went 5 2/3 innings, he did strike out 8 batters. And that is a really good thing that really expresses me about him. He's got good control of that first base side of home plate. He's got a nice delivery, a fastball that seems to sneak up on the hitter. I really like this young man, and he's an enjoyable kid to watch pitch.
On the other side of things, Lance Lynn. The Reds have not seen him this year, but they've seen a ton of him in the past.
Well, he has, and he's had his way with the Reds for the most part. You see what he's got going on this season, 7-5. The Cardinals are not scoring very many runs for Lynn this year. That 2.72 run support average is 4th worst in the National League. He's usually a guy that gets a lot of runs in support, but he's a big hoss, he throws hard, and he's always ready for the Reds.
All right, that's the pitching matchup tonight. Raisel Iglesias against Lance Lynn. We'll step aside when we come back. He seemingly is always on base. Who are we talking about, of course? The first baseman of the Reds, Joey Votto. More on that when we come back.
authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Always in the shadow of the Gateway Arch if you're in St. Louis as we come back into Busch Stadium. Game one of this three-game get-together, the Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals. And we talk about Joey Votto getting on base. We talk about the stuff that Joey Votto has done since the All-Star break. Chris, he leads almost all offensive categories.
It really is unbelievable what a turnaround it has been for Joey Votto. He got off to a great start to the season, then he cooled off, but after the All-Star break, and I'm wondering if he went home during the All-Star break thinking, I ought to be in the All-Star game. I should be on that team. Here it is being hosted in Cincinnati. I feel like I'm being left out. I'm going to make a mark here in the second half. He made some mechanical adjustments, but along with those mechanical adjustments, his confidence has soared, and he is the toughest out in Major League Baseball right now.
That leads us into our Lowe's Never Stop Improving segment. Here's most consecutive games reaching base 2 or more times for the Reds since 1914. There you see Votto.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. The guy, like I say, is a tough out. He doesn't chase pitches out of the zone. He doesn't get himself out on pitchers' pitches early in the count. He grinds it out. And I would imagine against the Cardinals here, he'll be ready to kind of grind it out in the series. He could be the key for the Reds in the next 3 games.
He, of course, is in the lineup tonight, batting second, playing first base. We'll step aside when we come back. The aftermath of a trade, the Johnny Cueto deal along to Kansas City. Jim Day will have more on that on our return.
Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. I'm Jim Day, just beside the Reds dugout, and we are a day removed from Johnny Cueto being traded away. We shared some tweets that some of the players sent out yesterday before the game yesterday, and Brian Pena went to Twitter once again for one of his best friends that he's ever played with, and it says this: learn to let go is hard. That is why you have to appreciate every moment with your family, teammates, friends, and fans. Memories always stay. We got Brian Pena's reaction and other Reds teammates about Cueto's departure.
Him and I, we had a pretty good relationship, you know, on and off the field. And you know, it was we all knew that it was coming. You know, it wasn't a surprise for nobody, but it's not the same. You know, when you're expecting them when it knocked your door, and then you have to answer. You know what I'm saying? So, but I mean, you know, we wish him nothing but the best luck, and we work on the guys that are coming in.
Everyone kind of anticipated it happening, but for it to actually happen, and you know, someone that I personally have known for 11 years now is you know, just poof, gone.
You can see it on his face. You know, I don't think he really wanted to leave, but yeah, he understands what's going on. You know, I gave him a long hug, man. I told him I love him, and you know, I said, you know, go do your job over there, man. It's just another, you know, it's another team you're playing for, like you do in the Dominican, and battle your tail off. He's got Edison over there, so he'll be fine. It just takes a little while, you know, to adjust to a different place, and yeah, we're definitely gonna miss him.
I'm sure it was very difficult for him to leave. This is the only organization he's known. I've personally been with him for 6 years. He's been around other people here longer than I've been with him. And yeah, we hate to see him go, but we know it's a part of what we need to do to get better, to get some younger, more affordable players into our mix. We got three pitchers, left-handed pitchers, we think are going to be impact guys in our future. And you know, it's the environment we're in.
Business side is reality. Onward they go, though. Raisel Iglesias versus Lance Lynn. It's the first of 3 against the first-place Cardinals. Lineup and first pitch with Jim and Chris next.
Series between the Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals. Reds, of course, trying to win a series here for the first time since September of 2011. Brian Price, the manager of the club, trying to be the man that leads them to a series win here. Take a look at the Reds starting lineup, presented by Meyer. Brandon Phillips will lead things off. Then Joey Votto, then Todd Frazier. The middle 3 include Bruce, Brian Pena, and Marlon Byrd. And there's the hot-hitting Eugenio Suarez batting 7th. Raisel Iglesias, the pitcher, is 8th. Billy Hamilton will bat 9th. On the mound for the Cardinals, making start number 19, is Lance Lynn.
The hard-throwing, four-seam fastball-throwing Lance Lynn is on the mound. 7 wins on the year. He's normally a guy that puts up about 15 or more wins a year for this Cardinal ball club. He's become a workhorse. Good earned run average. That's one of the better earned run averages of his career. And he has had his way with the Reds, 6-3 with a 3.7 earned run average in all the appearances and starts that he's had against them. 28 years old now is Lance Lynn, a product of Brownsburg High School in Indiana, Brownsburg, Indiana.
Yeah, he and Tucker Barnhart went to the same high school, albeit 3 or 4 years different.
And he was actually in school with Drew Storen when they were both together. Of course, they were the state champions, and you can see why. You know, you just wonder, Jim, the Reds come in here, and there's a big crowd on hand, and St. Louis fans love to hate the Reds. I mean, in a friendly way, okay? It's kind of a friendly city rivalry. But with Johnny Cueto not around, you lose one of the main villains that the Cardinal fans can kind of point to and get on a little bit.
Here's the other one right here, Brandon Phillips.
And Brandon is really the only guy left. Not that they don't remember these other guys, but I mean, Brandon has always been a focal point along with Johnny Cueto.
Now, Phillips comes into this game hitting .276 with 5 home runs. He's been a very good hitter on the road this year. And there you see him bringing an 8-game hitting streak into this game. Got a hit in his last at bat yesterday in the 8th inning against Rafael Betancourt. He'll be followed by Votto and Frazier here in the first. Talked about Lance Lynn. This guy has made 10 starts over the course of the last 2 years against the Reds, but in the 6 games these two teams have played this year, they have not seen him. Last 2 times they faced Lynn last year, they beat him. Once here, once in Cincinnati. And Johnson chasing that ball over the railing. They have a different look to their lineup with that first base spot kind of been a revolving door since Matt Adams went on the disabled list with that right quad injury way back in May. And they are actively seeking someone potentially to play first base. In fact, the name today of Milwaukee first baseman Adam Lind has come up. Peter Borges will handle this, and that's the way this game gets started. Phillips flies to center. Take a look at the Cardinal defense, brought to you by your Ford dealers. Stephen Piscotty out in left field, giving Matt Holliday a day off today. Borges is in center, Hayward is in right. Carpenter, Peralta left side, Wong and Dan Johnson the right side. Lance Lynn and Yadier Molina. Molina had the day off yesterday, back in there today. Dan Johnson is an interesting name because he spent time this year, although not a lot of time, in the Reds organization down at AAA Louisville. First pitch to Votto is going to be a ground rule double into right center field. We highlighted him, Chris, in the open, and he just continues to absolutely scorch the ball.
Hottest hitter in all of baseball right now. There's no question about it. And you really don't know when you're facing Joey Votto whether he's going to be aggressive early in the count or whether he's going to sit back and work you a little bit. He gets a first pitch fastball from Lynn and lines it into that right center field gap. I mean, when he's on like this, he just makes it look so easy.
Yeah. The career-wise coming into this game, he's 8 of 16 against Lance Lynn. I think I've heard you guys talk about it before. He is pulling the ball a lot more this year than we've ever seen him in the past.
Well, I think he's being pitched inside a little bit more this year, and it's just a matter of adjustment. I mean, early in the year, every time a pitcher went away, he seemed to line at the left field, so they started coming in on him. So, you know, the league makes an adjustment on you, and if you're a good hitter, you make, you know, an adjustment also.
So an opportunity here for the Reds to jump in front in the first inning. Right off the mask of Molina. Cardinals saw their 5-game winning streak come to an end yesterday when they lost 3-2 to the Atlanta Braves. They fell behind early in that game. Mike Matheny's club still with the best record in baseball at 63-35. That's home record in the big leagues at 36-13. Frazier can keep these numbers up. Reds will be able to jump in front here in inning number 1. A double by Votto with 1 out. Frazier overall at 276. It seems like that day off on Sunday right after the All-Star break did a lot for him.
I mean, he just had to be whipped after that All-Star week. The Reds had a very tough travel series ahead of that when they came back from Miami. It was a long and very tiring road trip in D.C. that preceded that. And then he gets thrust right into being essentially the main man in the All-Star games. He wins the home run derby. He never has a moment's rest. Plays the series right after that, and then finally got a little bit of a rest, and he's been swinging the bat a lot better ever since. You know, Frazier is another guy that the league is beginning to throw inside a little bit more. You know, the book on Frazier always used to be get ahead of him and then throw that slider down and away and make him chase it. But now he's staying alive by fouling that pitch off more and more. So now most right-handed pitchers are coming in on him more than they ever had before, and he's beginning to make that adjustment too.
Down on strikes he goes. Second out of the inning. Batter will be Jay Bruce. He's our IGS bringing the energy feature for tonight's game. Look at these numbers against Lynn.
Well, that shows me that Jay Bruce can hit a fastball, and he likes a fastball up, because what Lance Lynn's calling card is that four-seamer up. And he's had a pretty good run against Lance Lynn. Not only that, Bruce is really on fire right now anyway. 3 for 5 yesterday with a home run.
16 of them on the year.
He was one of the few Reds players that had anything to shout about yesterday.
His early home run in the third gave the Reds a lead at the time at 4-2. Of course, it all went downhill after that. He comes in overall at 258, and slowly but surely his power numbers are getting to what you're used to seeing. And there they are, 16 long ones, 53 runs batted in. Lane straight away in the outfield. The shortstop Peralta cheating up the middle. Now Jay is at 3-0.
Well, I mentioned that Lance Lynn loves to use that four-seamer, and this bears it out. This is a list of the pitchers in Major League Baseball that use the most percentage of fastballs out of their repertoire. And 2 Cardinals are on that list. John Lackey, who the Reds will see in the last game of the series, also throws a lot of fastballs. The Major League average is somewhere around 60%, 60 to 63%. So that looked like a good old-fashioned pitch around right there, with Votto on second base and a guy in the batter's box and Jay Bruce that has hit Lynn very well. He really didn't give him much to look at.
Given the choice, the Cardinals will pick this man, Pena, over Bruce, and so let's see if Pena can burn them here. Brings a 4-game hitting streak into this game, and he bats with 2 on and 2 out. Pena 231 on the year with runners in scoring position, which is actually higher than Bruce's 194. But his 11 RBIs, talking about Pena, don't show that he's been in these situations that often. Home plate umpire tonight is Marty Foster. His mates are Marcus Patillo at first, Mike Buchlinski at second. The crew chief Mark Wegner is over at third. Playing here at Busch for the first time since the middle of April. They were here the 17th through the 19th of April. Lost all 3 games, 6-1, 5-2, and that Sunday night game 2-1. Great pitching matchup in that one, you remember, between Adam Wainwright and Mike Leake, a game that took only 2 hours and 2 minutes to play. Marlon Byrd waits on deck. Look at the end of that bat, Chris. I mean, you talk about a hollow out job. That was a lot of hollow in the end of that bat.
It looks like more than what you normally see. I know the MLB must have some rules that pertain to that. He's just trying to take that dead wood and the weight out of the very tip of the bat and have more of it in the sweet spot.
He got him on a letter-high fastball. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Lynn. 0 on the board in the top of the first. The first, Reds had an opportunity, 2 on with 2 out in their half of number 1, but failed to get the hit they need, and so now the Cardinals will come calling. Here's their lineup for tonight's game. Colton Wong swinging a pretty good bat will lead it off, then Matt Carpenter, then Johnny Peralta. Middle 3 include Jason Hayward, Yadier Molina, and Stephen Piscotty. We'll tell you more about him as the game goes on. Dan Johnson 7, Peter Borges in center 8, Lance Lynn, the pitcher, bats 9th against the right-hander. Raisel Iglesias made his big league debut, Chris, early in the year in Cincinnati against this team.
Yeah, you're right about that, and he really brought everything to the table that he normally would throughout the year, meaning he showed the Cardinals all sorts of different arm angles, all sorts of different pitches. He pitched quite well in that ball game. Raisel Iglesias did. 5 innings and 3 runs. They ended up, the Reds lost that ball game eventually. That went extra innings, and they lost 7-5. But Iglesias is coming off a pretty decent start against the Chicago Cubs, where he struck out 8 5 2/3.
That's really the game that the Reds lost in 13-5-4, and again he came within a third of an inning of a quality start in that one. It's Wong, Carpenter, and Peralta here in the bottom of the first. Wong a 4-game hitting streak. Early part of this year, the Cardinals had Matt Carpenter leading off. They switched and put Wong up there, and he has by and large been there since the middle part of May. That hit him in the foot. They'll appeal to third. He did not swing, and he is hit in the foot, and so Wong is on to start the Cardinal first.
Hit him with a sweeping breaking ball. The Wong could not get his foot out of the way. Looked like I got him right on the toe, right?
Yeah. They appeal and get that call. He's still in the box, but they say he did not go around. So Wong is aboard. Here is the man who started the year as their leadoff man, Matt Carpenter. Got off to a scorching start this year, did Carpenter, in the 370s in April. Cooled off since that time. Wong leads this Cardinal team in being hit by a pitch. That's his 11th hit by pitch this year, 6th most in the big leagues. He saw the leader in the last series at home, and that was Anthony. Here's what we talked about with Carpenter. Anthony Rizzo of the Cubs leads all the big leagues in being hit by a pitch. Look at the difference there.
Well, he's had a drop off. That's a batting average. Now his on base percentage obviously has gone down significantly too. April, just 1 month, a small sample size, but the guy's very patient at the plate. And you almost have to put the ball right in there where he wants it for him to swing. Last year his on base percentage 375. It's dropped about 20 points from there to now. But he still is an everyday player. I mean, last year he led the league in the number of plate appearances, over 700, and he's on pace to do the same type of thing this year. 2-time All-Star.
Wong 11 steals, second on this Cardinal club to the 15 of Jason Hayward. Hamilton has a beat on this ball for out number 1. Here's what we talked about with Iglesias. He made his big league debut in that game at home on the 12th against St. Louis. First 4 innings, no runs, 2 hits. 5th inning, 3 runs, 3 hits, and that's really been kind of the MO that he has followed. The first 4 usually have been pretty good for him.
Runs out of gas a little bit. I think that's the bottom line right there. And they're still trying to build up his arm strength, his stamina. That doesn't mean you get that in the weight room. It means you have to get out there and pitch innings.
Batter now, Johnny Peralta. Peralta, one of the 5 All-Stars that this Cardinal team produced this year. Matt Holliday, Peralta, and Yadier Molina, the everyday players that were All-Stars. Michael Wacha, Carlos Martinez, the pitchers that were All-Stars. Peralta 292 with 14 and 49. Tardy on that one.
That's a spot right there, though, where Lance Lynn likes to go upstairs with the four-seam fastball. Raisel Iglesias needs to go down and away. I mean, if he hits this spot over here all night long, he's going to have a pretty good run of it.
Frazier will make the play to first, and Peralta is out number 2. Take a look at the Reds' defensive alignment behind the right-hander Iglesias, brought to you by your Ford dealers. Bird, Hamilton, Bruce from left to right. Frazier, Suarez, Philip Votto third to first. The battery of Iglesias and Brian Pena. So Wong at second with 2 out, and here's Jason Hayward. First-year Cardinal, former Brave, came over in the offseason deal that sent Shelby Miller down to Atlanta. And a good player on this club. Comes in at 280 with 9 home runs. He's driven in 33. .350 plus since the All-Star break for Hayward.
Well, he got off to a really slow start, Haywood did. You know, they trade for him. They expected big things of him. Here he comes in the month of April, and he hits .217 with very little power. But his numbers are now getting back to about his average major league season.
Wow. Smash, and Phillips gets in the way of that line drive, saves a run, and ends the bottom of the first. Phillips just continues to do what he does all the time defensively. Consecutive home games with 3 earned runs or less by a starting pitcher. The Cardinals since 1920. This year they have 24 of them, and there's still 60-plus games to go. Their record, 27 of them in 1987. 24 consecutive home games with 3 earned runs or less by a starting pitcher. Will they surpass that? Maybe the Reds can break that thing right here tonight. Lance Lynn has done a very good job this year at home. He's 5-1 with a 183 at home this year. The only time he has lost here was early May when the Cubs beat him.
Well, it's at home is where they've really made their mark. I mean, the Cardinals are 28 games over 500 overall at home. They are 23 games over 500, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they've made their mark. They just simply don't lose in this ballpark.
Hit well by Bird, but tracked by the center fielder, and Peter Borges handles it. Long out for Marlon Bird to get the second inning started. Talk about injuries, and this Cardinal team certainly has had their share, including their center fielder John Jay, who's been on the DL since early this month with a wrist injury. He had a wrist injury earlier this year. That has sidelined him. Matt Adams at first base, that right quad injury. Will he or will he not play again this year? They don't really know the answer to that question. And Adam Wainwright, of course, out for the year. Jaime Garcia going to come off the disabled list tomorrow and pitch. His is an ongoing issue. This latest one with him is a groin problem. Of course, they had Matt Holliday out for 6 weeks earlier this season with a right quad injury, and they are slowly but surely getting him back in there. There's the man who will pitch tomorrow night, Garcia.
I don't know if you mentioned Matt Belisle is on the disabled list. They acquired him to fulfill something in the bullpen. Jordan Walden, who they got from the Atlanta Braves. They thought he was going to be their main setup man, and he is on the 60-day disabled list with biceps inflammation.
So they've had to overcome a lot this year.
You never know it by looking at their record. Best record in baseball, and I mean by a long shot.
Mike Matheny in his 4th year since taking over for Tony La Russa. And Cardinal dugout.
David Bell sitting right next to him. He's the batting coach.
Two guys going at it tonight, Chris. Matheny and Brian Price, who never managed before managing here in the big leagues. Another hit for Eugenio Suarez. This guy is an interesting piece to watch since he took over on an everyday basis at shortstop due to the injury to Zach Cozart. I mean, to tell you, this guy can flat out hit.
He really can. I mean, he showed some flashes in spring training. This is what the Reds front office told everybody when they got him last year over the winter in exchange for Alfredo Simon, that this young man is really going to be one heck of a hitter, and he's shown himself to be that.
That's now an 8-game hitting streak for Suarez. Came into the game hitting .325 since the All-Star break. Talking to someone today who said, I'd like to take the Suarez offense, the Cozart defense. That'd be a heck of a player right there. Raisel Iglesias looked to bunt, now swings away. He's in the hole, 2 strikes. Today being the 27th, we close in ever so closer now to the trading deadline of 4 p.m. on Friday, the 31st of July. No move today by the Reds. A couple of moves made in baseball, though. And we talked a lot about Jay Bruce being looked at by the Angels. Today, the Angels acquired Shane Victorino from Boston for an infielder we've seen before with Colorado, Josh Rutledge. And the Mets, who have made a move earlier this week, made another move today, adding to their bullpen, and a very talented Tyler Clippard. That will move the runner along, although it's very close.
Got to run that ball out. I don't understand why these guys cannot run 90 feet down the base path. If Raisel Iglesias busted down the line like you would expect out of any rookie, he's safe at first base. This is not a morning jog. This is 90 feet of baseball. I just don't, you know, and if you don't hear that from one of your teammates, you ought to hear it from a coach, because it's happened more than once with this young man, and he's not a bad kid. He's a great kid, but he's learning to play the game the wrong way. In that dugout, somebody ought to be in his face, I mean right now.
I agree with you. Yeah, he's safe if he runs that hard all the way. You're exactly right. Trying to get him in is Billy Hamilton. Nifty play by Peralta to his left. Hamilton is out at first, and the Reds strand their third runner of this game.
First time the Reds have seen him since that all-star game and the typical greeting in Cincy.
From the St. Louis Cardinals, Yadier Molina. He's got the best smile of the night. Come on, give it to him.
And you could see the Yadier right before he was introduced had already started laughing because he knew what was coming. But there's also some respect there. We're talking about one of the greatest catchers in the game, as solid as they come.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. And, you know, Molina, of course, was part of the deal that Chris was talking about earlier back in 2010 with Cueto and Phillips and Molina. All-star again this year, Molina, for the 7th time in his career. Hitting .290 with a couple of home runs. Didn't start this year. Buster Posey started behind the plate in the All-Star game, but this guy, as Jim said, one of the best out there. He must like those Boo Birds in Cincinnati because he has put up some very good numbers at Great American. Good fastball there by Iglesias. He gets his first strikeout here in the bottom of the second.
You know what Iglesias has? He has a real nice action at the end of his pitches. He finishes them really nicely with his hands, and he gets a little extra zip that the hitter doesn't read, and that is our flamethrower strikeout of the night, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce at 92 miles an hour.
I'm going to bring up Stephen Piscotty, guy who made his first start at first base in the big leagues yesterday. A fellow that was drafted out of Stanford as a third baseman, but has played mostly the outfield in the Cardinal minor league system. But with the woes they're having over there at first base, they're trying this big guy out over there. 6'3", 210-pounder. Mark Reynolds has been their guy by and large at first, replacing Adams. Adams has been on the disabled list since late May. May come back in September, but they don't know for sure with that quad injury.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night on that slider right there. He missed it. He would have missed it with a boat oar. I mean, he never really allowed Piscotty to kind of settle into the batter's box before he sent him back to the dugout, dragging that wood behind him.
So after hitting the leadoff man Wong, Iglesias set down 5 in a row and deals now with Dan Johnson. This guy we were talking about earlier, Johnson, started the baseball season in the spring training camp of the Houston Astros. They traded him to the Reds organization. He went down to play in Louisville, but it didn't go well at all down there. He had but 2 hits and 29 at bats. They released him. The Cardinals signed him, and he did a pretty good job for their AAA club at Memphis. Now here they are in need at the first base spot, so they call on the veteran Johnson. With this team hitting only 143, 2 out of 14. Make that 3 out of 15 as he singles here into left field. Well, the first hit of the game for St. Louis gives them their second base runner. Johnson, 35 years old, been around a long time. Played at Nebraska. Collegiately initially played at Butler up in Indianapolis. Iglesias are now going to work on the center fielder Peter Borges. Borges and Randall Grichuk getting a lot of playing time in center with the absence of John Jay. Hitting just .234 with a couple of home runs. Trying to get him here and have the leadoff man be the pitcher in the bottom of the third. Good location there by Iglesias, and he's 2-2.
He's really good at keeping the ball down. I mean, he's not an easy pitcher to pick the ball up. He's got a lot of moving parts. And you can see that he's not a product of having a personal pitching coach growing up. I mean, this is something that you learn in Cuba just by playing.
Look at that location there. He blazes one over the outside corner. Borges sent packing. 3 strikeouts in the inning. We are through 2 in St. Louis. Subscribe to MLB.TV Premium for live or on demand on over 400 devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking, and more. Remember, blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. 2 innings complete. Scoreless game here at Busch Stadium. Back to work goes Lance Lynn, and he'll get the top of the Reds order. Means the second time through. Phillips, Votto, Frazier. Reds have 2 hits. Cardinals have 1. Brandon flied out to the center fielder Borges to get this game started. Mentioned he has an 8-game hitting streak, and he's hit in 15 of his last 16 games. Right near the 300 mark since the All-Star break. And that's now a 9-game hitting streak for Phillips. Borges over to cut that ball off. He'll get it back in. Single in the left center by Phillips. And the leadoff man is on.
Yeah, watching Brandon Phillips, he just looks so comfortable. We've seen him battle so many injuries, little nicks and bruises, and then big things like the thumb injury last year. And really what you're looking at is a guy who has lost weight to come into this season in better shape and whose hands are now healthy. And he's playing just lights out defense as he normally does, but he feels real comfortable in that leadoff spot too.
It looked like, Chris, he got banged up a little bit hand-wise out there in Colorado. It looked like one of those guys stepped on his hand.
You know, those are the kind of things you can never really gauge how serious it is. I mean, we jam our hand a little bit, and then we kind of go around complaining to everybody for the next couple of days. But you never hear Brandon say a boo about any of that.
Yeah, didn't come out of the game, played the next day. Does take some precaution on that left hand and thumb area. That's the one that had the surgery last year. He has a guard on it.
He's got a decent lead down there, but the league has not really been able to run on Lance Lynn at all. They've only stolen 2 bases. They've not had anybody thrown out. So that's essentially the combination of Lynn being quick to the plate and Yadier Molina being Yadier Molina behind the plate.
That one hit him. Votto hit by the pitch on the right arm area. It looks like. That'll send Phillips into scoring position, 2 on with nobody out.
Well, I mentioned in the last at bat that they're coming after him with more fastballs and more inside stuff, making him adjust. And he doesn't give in. Watch where he just stays right here. At the very last second, he's going to try to get his arm out of the way. I mean, he doesn't even wear one of those protective pads.
Only the second batter that Lynn has hit this year. The Reds, who had 2 on with 2 out in the first, have 2 on, no one out. Here in the top of the third for Frazier.
That's the pitch you lay off right there if you're Todd Frazier. Because that's the one he went down on strikes against Lynn. And that's Lynn's main pitch. That 4-seamer just a little bit above the strike zone. Looks so good, but you never get it.
Votto been on base now twice in this game already. A double and been hit by the pitch. It's 14 consecutive games that Votto has reached base at least 2 times. Here's what we were talking about earlier. Rose the all-time record at 15. Joey Votto now 14 consecutive games reaching base 2 times or more. It's 1914. Todd lays off that same pitch there, and now he's ahead 3-1.
So a hit batsman, and a walk by Lynn, and the Reds have them loaded with nobody out, and immediately Derek Lilliquist out of that Cardinal dugout on the first base side.
Well, now he's got to face his main nemesis for the Reds, too, and that's Jay Bruce coming to the plate. This guy's hitting about 500 career off of Lance Lynn with 3 home runs. So Lynn knows that he's dug himself a hole right here. Lilliquist just trying to settle him down and tell him, you know why you're missing the zone? You're flying open.
Well, that was a quick meeting right there.
Lynn does not get a lot of ground ball double plays because he's primarily a fly ball pitcher. So he's only rolled up 4 ground ball double plays all year long. That's in 18 starts.
Well, the numbers will tell you that Bruce will come through here. As Chris mentioned, a 500 hitter lifetime against Lynn, and this year 4 for 13, 308 with the bases loaded. Here he is with them loaded and nobody out.
This is where Jay Bruce needs to tell himself, you know, the pressure is all on Lance Lynn right here. Unless I get one right where I want it, I don't need to swing, because he's got to come right back again.
Phillips led off the inning with a single in the left center, giving him a 9-game hitting streak. Votto hit by a pitch. Frazier drew a walk and a 3-1 delivery. Did he go? He did, says the home plate umpire Marty Foster. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Trying to take the early lead in this game here in the top of the 3rd. Looked like it slipped out of the hand there of Lynn. 2-2.
Well, you know, 2-2 now. This is the decision pitch. You don't want to go 3-2 where you have to throw a strike. You can still hit a corner here if you're Lance Lynn. But clearly the pressure is on the Cardinal pitcher and not Jay Bruce at the plate. Just put a good swing on him here.
Missed outside. So a full count. That's an impressive number right there.
Well, it is, but what it doesn't take into consideration is ball 4.
We could see them right here. He has swung at ball 4 and fouls it away.
Not good body language right now for Lynn, too. He looks a little bit exasperated, which happens when a pitcher, you know, you get into a bad groove and you know what you're doing wrong, but you're having a hard time correcting it. And now you can't worry about correcting it. You got to worry about getting a hitter out.
Borges will handle this. Phillips will tag. There's the catch. Throw comes into 3rd. Phillips touches the plate. RBI for Bruce, number 54. And the Reds have taken a 1-0 lead on a sacrifice fly by Jay Bruce. So now the batter will be Brian Pena. Struck out his first time, 1 of 2 strikeouts for Lynn in this game. Now from a Cardinal standpoint, they look for the double play ball. There's one. There's another. Reds get a run and take the lead 1-0 in the middle of the 3rd. Ohio Data Strong fan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. One nothing Reds on the sac fly by Bruce. Well, you just can't help but look at that, though, and think bases loaded, nobody out. Get more than just the one run.
Well, you hope so. And, you know, sometimes that just happens. But they did get one run out of it, and it could have been a double play the other way where you get a double play, you know, say a 1-2-3 double play or something like that, and then never get anything out of it. So.
Well, we like to be greedy, though, when it comes to offense.
Yeah, you do. You sure do. And it doesn't give Iglesias much of a margin of error, but at least he's got the pitcher leading off.
That because of the Borges strikeout to end the bottom of the second, so now it's the number 9 hitter, Lynn.
Tell you what, he's got Marty Foster calling low strikes, so you might as well just stay right on down there in the bottom of the knees.
Lynn is an under 100 career hitter, but he does have 6 hits this year. And now 7 as he loops one into right field. And Bruce had an idea about throwing to first base on that. Votto was way off the bag. So Lynn leads off the third with his 7th hit of the season.
Well, he may not hit much in the major leagues, but when this kid was in high school, look out. I mean, he was one of the best hitters in the entire state of Indiana. In fact, he was the Gatorade Player of the Year in 2005, I think, as a junior in Indiana. He hit .509 that year with 14 home runs and 46 runs batted in as a junior in high school.
So he has an idea about how to swing the bat. Colton Wong hit by a pitch to start the Cardinal first inning. Young man out of Hawaii, Honolulu. Played over there for the Rainbows. And Iglesias gets ahead, 2 strikes. Second year as an everyday second baseman for the Cardinals. Ended up 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting last year in the National League behind Jacob deGrom and R. Billy Hamilton. He is tardy there, and he disposed of him very quickly.
You know, this is the kind of fastball that really doesn't show you how impressive it is by just looking at a radar gun. It's got a lot of run on it. Wong just pulls off of it a little bit. It was probably a ball anyway. But late life, that's what scouts would call that if you're out there scouting Raisel Iglesias, which, you know, you look back on the Reds signing Iglesias, tremendous scouting job on the Reds scouting department to take a look at him and project him as a major leaguer and project him soon. A little different than when you go out and scout Aroldis Chapman. I mean, that was like a cold slap in the face. But Iglesias, you had a lot more to evaluate. Pitchability, different breaking pitches, repetitive delivery, although very deceptive.
All this about a guy who really did not pitch last year.
And some people have a tendency to look at Iglesias and say, well, he's not that big. I mean, maybe he would fit better as a reliever than as a starter. But if you remember, they said the same thing about Pedro Martinez, who was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame yesterday.
Tim Lincecum, another thin, tall, thin fellow. Carpenter gets himself a base hit and moves Lynn along. 2 on and 1 out here in the bottom of the third.
Pretty good bit of hitting right there, because that is a pitcher's pitch.
Carpenter, one of the rarities, does not wear batting gloves.
I always kind of feared those guys for some reason. I mean, Keith Hernandez, a former Cardinal that did not wear batting gloves. Moises Alou, I think, is a guy that didn't wear batting gloves. They seem to be few, but they're pretty good.
Opportunity now for Johnny Peralta. This will be the infield fly rule if Phillips calls it. He does. So do the umpires. Phillips makes the play. Look how far out he is, and yet the infield fly rule is still called. The Cardinals, I'm sure they don't like that rule at all based on what happened some years ago in a wild card game.
That was in a playoff game, but you know the rule book says that an outfielder can catch an infield fly as long as it was a reasonable effort on the part of an infielder. So in that particular play, if Phillips went out and called it, and then at the last minute Jay Bruce wanted it and called him off, the infield fly would still be in effect.
So he couldn't drop it and then throw it over to second and get the double play at first.
That's the reason why it's in the rule book.
Well, Hayward took that strike over the inside part of the plate as Iglesias continues to locate extremely well. And he's been efficient so far in this game, which is something that he has not always been. He's at 41 pitches.
But isn't location what it's all about anyway?
Sure.
I mean, you know, just take yesterday, for instance, with Michael Lorenzen. I mean, Iglesias doesn't throw as hard as Lorenzen. He's not as strong a kid. But if Lorenzen locates the way that Iglesias is locating tonight, he's got a much different result than what happened.
Pick by Votto. Nice scoop of a throw to Iglesias, who's over there at the bag covering. And that rally quelled by nice defensive work by the Redlegs.
$12 plus the first 25,000 fans in attendance receive a Devin Mesoraco bobblehead. It's presented by St. Elizabeth Healthcare. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. I'm Jim Day. Speaking of Devin Mesoraco, let's give you some injury updates. Devin Mesoraco, after hip surgery, now off of crutches. We hear pain-free. Good news to the ears of Brian Price. Also good news for Zach Kozart. He's also off of crutches after knee surgery, so both are well on their way into their rehab process. Manny Parra on the disabled list for Cincinnati, still dealing with some elbow tenderness. He is yet to throw, so his progress is not really happening yet, so it's going to be a time till he comes back. And good news on the Sean Marshall front. He's throwing out to 120-plus feet with no restrictions. Brian Price used the word exciting, and when the Reds return from this road trip, they will set up a throwing program for him, followed by an actual rehab schedule. Guys, if it goes well, you could see Sean Marshall on some type of mound before this season is over, and that is an unbelievable story.
You're just full of good news down there today, Jimmy.
Well, I try.
That is an unbelievable story, though, about Sean Marshall, because, you know, that surgery, as we had talked about, was potentially career ending, and yet here he is
on the verge of starting a throwing program that could end him up on the big league mound again this year.
Yeah, good for him, too, because he's been through a lot. You know, a lot of people blame you when you get injured, and it's unfair, of course, but he's had nothing but time in that training room and that rehab room, really, for the last couple of years. So it's about time he got a break.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed, certainly, for Sean Marshall and the rest of them. Good news about Cozart. Good news about Mesoraco. Molina here hangs on to that foul tip on the swing by Marlon Byrd. Lynn gets his third strikeout. Reds threatened in the first, left 2 on when Pena struck out. Left the man in scoring position in the second when Hamilton grounded out on a nice play by Peralta and had him loaded with nobody out in the third. Ended up with 1 run on the sac fly by Bruce. Trying to get something started here in inning number 4. Bobbled, but recovering is Peralta. Throws out his counterpart Suarez. And there are 2 out.
Well, what a difference an inning makes. For Lance Lynn, you just stay with it, and that's a nice recovery by Peralta.
No panic there by the all-star shortstop.
I mean, he had the first 3 reach base last inning and looked like he was on the verge of just losing it and ended up getting it together. Now he's got 4 outs in a row, including 5 outs in a row, including the double play ball by Pena. You know, you get a good pitcher like that on the hook and you let him off. Sometimes they get it together and you're rolling a stone uphill just trying to get a run the rest of the ball game against them. And he is a good pitcher.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at the numbers of Lance Lynn. He's had some big win totals over the years, but that ERA was hovering right near 4 until last year. It looked like he kind of turned a corner.
Well, the first 2 years where he was a full-time pitcher, the Cardinals just gave him a ton of runs. In 2012, he averaged run support of 6.7 runs a game. That's the year he won 18 ball games. In 2013, he was 3rd in the league in that category.
Soft liner caught out there by Hayward. The first 1, 2, 3 inning of the game turned in by Lynn.
Move today to replace the roster spot of Johnny Cueto from Double-A Pensacola. They called up Kyle Skipworth, and we told you about him yesterday because on Saturday this happened. He did not like what the home plate umpire said to him. Not only did he throw his mitt and throw his chest protector at the umpire, took off his shin guards and threw them at the umpire as well. It led to Pat Kelly, the manager of Double-A, getting ejected, which was classic because he took us time to throw every umpire out and also use the rosin bag fest deodorant. Kyle Skipworth arrived at the stadium, and we talked to him about it.
Besides getting plenty of calls and texts from friends and family and kind of being a local legend, I guess, in Pensacola now, you know, when I was walking off, you get a standing ovation from the crowd for throwing your gear at an umpire. You know, you'd rather get it for a walk-off hit or a great play, but you know, it's kind of one of those things too. You know, you hope it kind of fired up the club, and you know, a lot of times when managers, you know, get out, it's kind of, you know, kind of like a fight in hockey. You use it kind of a change of tempo type thing.
And guys, he wouldn't disclose what that home plate umpire said to him, but it had to be a doozy to get him to go off like that. And Pat Kelly, both mild-mannered guys. But he said if he is suspended or there's any repercussions from that, that he will appeal it because he felt whatever the umpire said to him was way out of line. But it gave us some comedy along the way.
Was it a ball and strike issue, Jim, that he was arguing about?
Jim, he wouldn't disclose exactly what it was. I think it started with a ball and strike issue, but it's something that the umpire said to him that just set him off, and he said was inappropriate.
Now, every now and then you see one of those kind of things from the minor leagues. I remember a number of years ago, Philip Wellman, who used to manage in the Reds minor league organization, had left and gone to Atlanta, and he had an incident where he launched the rosin bag like a grenade, right?
We actually showed that. You know, Matt Singerfoos, who's got all that ready to go, pulled the trigger on that, and we showed the Phil Wellman. We showed Lou Piniella throwing the base a couple of times.
Well, they were hot under the collar, that's to be sure. No replay system in the minor leagues, so you still get a lot of that kind of thing in terms of arguments that you don't get in the big leagues anymore because of replay.
Well, you combine that, the no replay, the bad calls that you're convinced it's a bad call with no recourse, with the heat and humidity of playing down there in the Southern League.
Sure.
And the long, I mean long bus trips and the meager meal money. And you can see why you can reach the end of your rope here pretty quickly.
Well, let's see what Iglesias does with Piscotty this time. He handled him very quickly his first time up. Playing in just his 6th game in the big leagues. Dandy pitch right there, 1-2.
Well, as you mentioned, Piscotty went to Stanford, and that's where the Cardinals got him first round, 36th pick overall in 2012. He actually went back to Stanford over the winter to finish his bachelor's degree. He got a degree in engineering. That's a pretty good fallback.
Sure is. Well, if he notices something around the ballpark that's structurally not right, according to him, he can mention it to somebody. Wouldn't chase, and now a full count.
You know, from what the Cardinal people will tell you, Piscotty is one of the last of those great prospects that seem to have been coming out of the Cardinal farm system, you know, one after another over the last few years. And we've always, you know, noted that when you have players in your system coming through, a lot of times it's cyclical. You know, you get hot for a few years, you make some good draft picks, kids get better that you didn't expect to get. All of a sudden you're flush with a lot of players that are, you know, at the top of the minor league food chain. But the Cardinals have had that kind of really good run over the last few years, but they're wondering if maybe now the cupboard is becoming a little more empty.
Just out of the reach of Frazier and into left field, but that little hesitation because of the ball and the possibility it could be caught allows Molina to move up only to third. First and third with nobody out.
Well, it gets a kind of a hanger right there. That breaking ball really is meant to be down and away, and if it is down and away, you're going to have Piscotty swinging and missing the same way he did the first time up. So now Iglesias has on the corner, nobody out. So really you're thinking here, you know, I love to strand that guy at third base in a one-run game, but the reality is let's play damage control. Let's not let them get any more than one right here.
Dan Johnson, a base hit his first time, snapped an 0 for 12 drought. Johnson is 35 years old. He's played in the big leagues with Oakland, with Tampa Bay, with the White Sox, with Baltimore. Last year he had 48 at-bats with the Blue Jays. Surfaces again this year in the big leagues with the Cardinals.
I don't know if you remember back in 2011, the last game of the year, it was known as Wild Card Wednesday, when they had all the 3 different games going on, and it was Dan Johnson that hit that home run for the Tampa Bay Rays that tied the game up. They'd eventually win that game and then went to the playoffs.
Popped it up. Phillips will make the catch on this ball. And the Reds are a third of the way home with the lead intact here in the bottom of the 4th. You know, I do remember that. I think Longoria ended up winning the game later on.
You're exactly right about that. It was. That's when Johnson, he had long red hair and a red beard, and he earned the nickname the Great Pumpkin from the Tampa Bay fans.
He's the first out here in the bottom of the 4th. Now it's Peter Borges.
Yeah, the good news for Iglesias now is that you're at the bottom of the order. And you can work your way through the number 8 and then the pitcher, and you can get out of this inning with nothing.
Key out right here if he can get it. And he hits Borges right in the back. Iglesias has hit 2 this year. Coming into this game, he's hit 2 in this game. Now he'll face a bases loaded situation with the pitcher up.
You know what I say about that? If you're aiming for the inner third of the plate and you miss 6 or 7 inches inside, you hit a guy in the ribs and he goes to first base. If you miss 6 or 7 inches over the center of the plate and he hits the ball into the gap, they score 2 runs. He's standing on second base. The crowd's going nuts. So a lot of times it's important where you miss. And I think Iglesias missed in a place where it didn't hurt him as much as it probably hurt Borges.
And now it's Lynn, who had a base hit his first time. Double play, of course, would end the inning.
Got to pitch him like he's a hitter now.
Collegiately. Cardinal dugout, Reds dugout looking on. Brian Price going through the signs defensively over there. Splits the heart of the plate there. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Colton Wong waits on deck.
Better than a strikeout here is getting Lynn to roll over on one and turning a double play.
Goes to the breaking ball. That is strikeout number 5 for Iglesias. Now he'll deal with Wong, an out away from keeping the lead intact. Wong hit by a pitch to start the first. Iglesias took care of him very quickly in the third with a strikeout. Molina at third, Piscotty out at second, Borges at first. Space for him here, so he's going to come in now at 2-0. Long this year, there's his career numbers with the bases loaded. Two and one. If the Cardinals get the same thing that the Reds received with the bases loaded, that would end the inning. That is to say, a fly ball. Ball 3.
Tough spot here, bases loaded, 3-1 count, left-handed hitter at the plate. You take your best pitch, you take a little bit off, and you throw it for a strike.
Frazier will chase, and Todd can't quite get it. So now the runners will be on the move. 3 balls and 2 strikes with the bases loaded and 2 out. And the Cardinals lead it 4-1 here in the fourth.
Boy, if this crowd, which is just about a capacity crowd, they're probably standing in the aisles here. Needed anything to get excited about? Colton Wong delivered.
Iglesias touched up for the grand slam.
Just a buzz going through this ballpark now.
Right into the bullpen area out there in right center. For Wong, his 11th home run. He now has 42 runs batted in on the year. 6th grand slam given up by Reds pitching this year. looks a little shaken now. He's fallen behind 3-0.
You see it so often. I mean, you give up an important home run and the next guy walks.
Hamilton will make the catch on this ball. It comes one batter too late. The Cardinals get the grand slam from Colton Wong. They lead 4-1. That was brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Meyer, find more for a healthier you at Meyer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News and World Report's Best Children's Hospital. Good look at Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis as Lance Lynn now works with a lead for the first time tonight on the Colton Wong Grand Slam. 4-1 Cardinals. Billy Hamilton leading things off. That'll fall for a hit. So Billy Hamilton, who had 3 hits and 4 at bats in the game on Saturday out in Denver, gets the leadoff base hit here.
Well, this is this year's run support for Lance Lynn. You can see he's 4th worst in the league as far as those pitchers are not getting much from their team in run support. He's not used to that. As I said, in 2012, he led the league in nearly 7 runs a game. In 2013, he was 3rd in the league with nearly 6 runs a game. And the drop-off may be one reason why he has won only 7 games so far. Which wins and losses we go back to is one of the worst barometers how you can judge a starting pitcher. Especially nowadays when they're only going 6 or 7 innings. The good ones.
Well, the wins have dropped, but that ERA, more importantly, has dropped down to the 280s and right out of the top 10.
He's a better pitcher, there's no doubt. I mean, he's 23 games over 500 in his career. But this is a pretty good matchup here because it's not necessarily Lance Lynn, but it's Yadier Molina and Billy Hamilton. I think the first stolen base that Hamilton ever got was against Yadier Molina.
Brandon Phillips at the plate. He's in the driver's seat, brought to you by Kia. 70 career RBIs against the Cardinals for Phillips, second most by an active player, trailing only Aramis Ramirez with 144. Ramirez now back with the Pirates. We'll see him this coming weekend at Great American Ballpark. Says he's going to retire at the end of this year. He goes back to a place, the Pirates, where he spent a lot of years. we want to pass along a belated, very special happy birthday wish tonight from the Reds and Fox Sports Ohio, going out to Lena Connie. Delhi Township, turned 98 yesterday. Big Reds fan. Watches most of the time. Happy birthday, Lena. And I really hope we're saying that name right. Lena Connie.
Well, happy birthday, Lena, and also happy birthday to Larry Riesbeck. Big 5-0 for him. He always drives his family several hours in to Denver to watch the Reds play. A veteran of a few Reds fantasy camps. Three strikeouts for Lynn. Make it 4.
Here's Votto now. He's been on twice.
What else is new?
And 14 straight games. We showed you that graphic earlier that he has been on at least 2 times in a game. Started this day leading the big leagues in average, on base percentage, and hits since the All-Star break. How about that? A bunt. He'll get credited for a sacrifice with 1 out. No, even he may not with 1 out. We'll wait and see what they rule. He's out 2-3. Hamilton down to second. I don't know about that decision right there.
It's hard to determine the cause or the intention of the player when you're the official scorer as to whether to give a bunt or not. I doubt Joey Votto is trying to bunt a sacrifice right there. He wants to keep the inning alive. They're giving him the left side of the infield.
But you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you'll get the benefit of the doubt when there's nobody out.
He's got all this time here, all this room up here if he wants to lay a bunt down. That's a bunt for a base hit all the way. It just happens to go into a bad spot. And I don't have a problem with that one bit.
Well, they've credited him with a sacrifice bunt.
I mean, after all you're trying to do is keep the inning alive. You're down by 3. And if they're giving you a base hit right there, and I would say, 7 out of 10 times Votto will be able to play that bunt down the left field line or third base line and probably get a base hit. Just didn't go the Reds' way that time.
Well, Frazier gets the opportunity here now to drive Hamilton home. He struck out and walked in this game after going 2 for 11 with a home run out in Denver. First part of this road trip. Well, just the way, though, that Votto was swinging the bat. You hate to take the bat out of his hands, even on a bunt hit.
Well, you're down by 3, though, and you can't drive them all in yourself. Like I say, I have no problem with keeping the line moving.
Sure.
I mean, if everybody in the lineup got on base as much as Joey Votto, we'd be in for some really long games and some high-scoring games. And that's the whole idea, isn't it? Just not making out.
Frazier strikes out here. That's 5 of them for Lynn. 2 from Frazier, getting over. Fox Sports Ohio pregame warm-up at the Tin Roof at the Banks. It's your chance to win great prizes and enjoy the energy around downtown on a game day. The party starts at 5 this Thursday night at the Tin Roof. You've been to the Tin Roof, Chris? Been to the Tin Roof? Right there by the ballpark?
Oh, yes, I have been to the Tin Roof.
Great place. Live music all the time. Good food, cold beverages.
Oh, I can't wait to get back to Cincinnati.
It's a good spot.
Go hang out at the Tin Roof a little bit.
Heck yeah.
Can I use your name to get a preferable table?
You use my name, I don't know what you'll get. Johnny Peralta leads it off. He and the man on deck, Hayward, the only two Cardinals that did not come to the plate in that 4-run, 7-batter fourth inning. Peralta 0 for 2.
Now the Cardinals are now seeing Iglesias for the third time in this ball game. Of course, he made his major league debut, but this is what you see oftentimes. You know, familiarity breeds high batting averages. We can see that one more time. And the first time through, a very tidy 219 batting average against, and then up over 300. And then the third time at 429. Now, it's still a small sample size for Iglesias, but it's a trend that you want to take care of, which means you make better pitches the third time through the lineup. And that is a better pitch that he sends up there to Johnny Peralta. He's got 6 of them now.
His career high this year is 8 in terms of strikeouts. He fanned 8 Nationals on the 30th of May in Cincinnati, and he struck out 8 Cubs in that last start this past Tuesday, again at Great American Ballpark. Interesting, Chris. We're talking about that bunt by Votto. Initially, it was called a sacrifice. Now they have taken that away. So no sacrifice bunt for Votto. Hamilton tracks that ball down. 2 up. Just a reminder that as you enjoy the game tonight, look forward to bringing you a Miller Time moment of the game a little bit later on. Brought to you by Miller Lite.
I think that's probably the right call. I mean, the official scorers are charged with just trying to get the call correct. And that's a difficult one sometimes because you're trying to figure out the intention of the player. But we know up here, and Joey Votto, I think if you ask him, were you bunting for a base hit or you bunting Billy Hamilton over, and he would look at you like you had 3 heads.
Sure.
Because it's a situation where obviously he wanted to keep the hitting going by getting on base.
And what it does for Joey is give him an at bat. So now he is 1 for 2 in this game. Had it stayed a sacrifice, he'd still be 1 for 1.
Well, I think, you know, those are great numbers, but the only numbers that really mean anything are 4 to 1.
Iglesias has not had a perfect inning yet in this game. He's a pinch hitter now for Yadier Molina, Tony Cruz, and he'll hit one back to the mound. So there is the 1-2-3 frame. As Cruz is out, we'll check on Molina, and if we get any information, pass that along. Meanwhile, we head to the 6th. Reds down by 3. ballpark. Thanks to Klosterman Bakery, you can take advantage of 2 exclusive family ticket offers for every Sunday Reds home game. Plus, don't miss out on kids giveaways like live mascot races, like face painters, games, and more. Call 513-381-REDS, or you can visit select Kroger locations, or for more information, go to reds.com/family. Tony Cruz takes over behind the plate for St. Louis. No update yet from the Cardinal clubhouse on Yadier Molina. If we get something, we'll pass it along. Molina is an Iron Man back there. He leads all big league catchers in innings caught this year. That's no surprise, really, because he doesn't like to miss many games at all.
That's why I know a lot of Cincinnati people don't want to hear this, but he's always on my top 3 for MVP in the league, because what he gives the Cardinals beyond what he does at the plate and what he does behind the plate and the way he leads the ball club.
Bruce leads it off. He drove in the Reds' run back in the 3rd with a sacrifice fly. Did that get him? It sure did. On the jersey, it looked like. So Bruce is aboard. Both starting pitchers tonight have hit a pair of batters. Caught him right on the jersey.
Both these pitchers keeping their walks down today.
By simply hitting batters.
Yeah.
So Bruce now without an at bat tonight. A walk, a sac fly, been hit by a pitch. Reds get the leadoff man on for the 3rd time in 6 innings. Need to come up with something. Check swing. They'll get an out at second, and a hard slide by Bruce into Colton Wong. Does not allow Wong to make the relay throw.
I'm kind of surprised that Wong hung in there. Boy, that's a nice play by Jay Bruce. If you like hard-nosed baseball, you'll like this slide.
Perfectly legal within length of the arm length of the base there. That throw kind of floated, didn't it, down the
You got to get some high fives in a dugout over that. I mean, for a team that got beat by 10 runs yesterday and you've given up a grand slam, you're a little bit down, something needs to fire you up. And that's the kind of thing that could do it.
Here's Marlon Byrd. Off the glove of Cruz. And that's going to put the runner in scoring position, Jay Bruce. Pardon me, Brian Pena. Should be a pass ball, I would think, on that. Report from the Cardinal clubhouse is that Molina left the game simply not feeling well. Was indeed a pass ball on Cruz.
What would you say the difference is between not feeling well and general soreness?
Could be sick if you're not feeling well.
True.
Hayward in position on this ball, gets himself in a nice throwing position. Gets that ball in, forcing Pena to stay put. There are 2 out. Batter will be Eugenio Suarez. Talked about Hayward being acquired by the Cardinals from Atlanta, and then Shelby Miller deal, and it's worked out well for both of them. Shelby Miller's had a pretty good year down there in Atlanta. And Hayward has done a nice job in right field for St. Louis. Now Suarez, who had a base hit his first time, rounded out to the shortstop his second time. That was in the 4th. He's 1 for 2. Had a 5-game hitting streak as his longest a year ago when he played shortstop every day for a half season for the Tigers when Jose Iglesias was on the DL. now had a 8-game hitting streak with that base hit in the second inning here tonight for the Reds. This is a guy who was a switch hitter until last year, gave that up. I don't know in the media guide if he's listed as a switch hitter or not, but I know that Rob Butcher puts out in most notes that Suarez is no longer a switch hitter. Quick look will tell us that in the media guide he is listed as a switch hitter in the Reds media guide. Gave that up. It's something that has been bannered about a little bit with Billy Hamilton. Carpenter, and the inning is over. So the leadoff hit batsman goes for naught. Reds have stranded 6, trail by 3 here in the middle of the 6th. The fastest of 500 strikeouts in MLB history. Brandon Phillips provided another wow moment with a vintage behind the back flip. And Middletown native Kyle Schwarber returned to his hometown and had himself a very memorable series at Great American Ballpark. Reds Weekly with Jeff Pecoro and Doug Flynn, a.k.a. The Glue. It's all new on Wednesday at 6, right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds Weekly produced by Ron Melanor, a.k.a. Rufus. Cardinals 6th inning. Stephen Piscotty leads it off. Iglesias gets ahead.
Piscotty in the minor leagues is a player that has always been willing to take a walk. So what he lacks in power, although he did have 11 home runs when he was recalled from Memphis this year, he had a good on-base percentage, and up and down the minor league system he's been like that nearly every year. Pretty much gap power, not a lot of home run bat speed. Just 24 years old.
Six, 7, 8 in the Cardinal order here. To the mound, and good reaction by Iglesias. Throw on to first and retire Piscotty.
Well, if you see the way Raisel Iglesias finishes every one of his deliveries, he squares himself up. He reminds me a little bit of the way Greg Maddux does. He comes around and then has a little bit of a hop step to kind of square himself up, puts himself in good fielding position. So, you know, when Iglesias pitches, it's almost like having 5 infielders in your infield.
Now Dan Johnson takes strike one. Mike Leake gets himself in good defensive position.
Very much so, yeah.
Big shift on against Johnson. This is going to be Votto, Iglesias, and he couldn't find the bag for a moment. Then he does, and there are 2 out. He stepped and found himself about 1.5 feet short of the bag.
That's a tough play. I mean, it looks easy on TV, but you're catching the ball behind you. You're trying to find the first base bag that is ahead of you. That's why it's important to try to get to that bag as quickly as possible. But those balls that are in no man's land.
How about this? He hits Borges for the 2nd time in this game.
And they're going to give him a warning? You got to be kidding me.
That's 5 hit batsmen in this game. 3 by Iglesias, 2 by Lance Lynn.
And that's what Marty Foster is saying, is there's 4 guys that have been hit here. Well, none of them have been intentional. None of them have been blatant to the fact that it looks like it's anywhere close to being intentional. And I think that's just a case of an umpire just overreacting to pitchers pitching inside. Why are you going to drill the number 8 hitter? I think it was an off-speed pitch.
It might have been.
If we can see it again, maybe we can slow it down and take a look. He sure let up on it. Plus, it's hot. There's sweat dripping down the forearm into your hands. If you've ever pitched on a hot, humid, sticky night like it is in St. Louis or in Cincinnati, you have a hard time gripping the baseball because your hands are simply get wet. Look how his uniform is soaking wet.
Well, the bottom line is there's no reason, certainly that we are aware of, that he would hit Peter Borges.
I don't know.
No reason. But
everybody's entitled to a bad judgment call, I guess.
He did issue warnings to both dugouts. Iglesias had hit 2 batters this year in 34 innings in the big leagues. He's hit 3 tonight in this game. Lost in all this is if he can get Lynn, he would have gotten through 6 innings, albeit he has given up 4 runs. It would be his 2nd longest outing of the year. Strikes as Lynn is disposed of. 7 of them now in this game for Iglesias. 6 innings in the books for the Reds right-hander. Jay Bruce gives the Reds the lead with this sac fly in the third, plating Brandon Phillips, making it 1-0 Cincinnati. Meanwhile, Raisel Iglesias got off to a good start in this game. Scoreless 3 innings to get things going with 4 strikeouts. Worked out of a jam in the third, but the fourth did him in on this 3-2 pitch with 2 out to Colton Wong. A Wong grand slam gave the Cardinals a 4-1 lead. That's where we stand now into the 7th, and that is our Honda game summary.
You know, getting back to the warning issued by the home plate umpire Marty Foster to both benches, it comes under Rule 802, where it says throwing at the batter, the pitcher shall not intentionally pitch at the batter. If in the umpire's judgment such a violation occur, the umpire can elect to expel the pitcher or warn the pitcher and the manager of both teams. And in the process, the manager can't come out and argue that. He's got to be warned to say, you're not allowed to come out here. If you do, you get ejected. So if someone else in this ball game on either team hits a batter and it is deemed intentional by the home plate umpire, he will be ejected from the game, as will his manager.
Well, that's the full explanation of the warnings. Meanwhile, pinch hitter Jason Bourgeois bats for Iglesias here in the 7th inning, and he hits one by the diving first baseman Dan Johnson and out into right. So a pinch hit single for Bourgeois.
Now I should mention that Bourgeois comes in to pinch hit for Iglesias, so that rule of possibly being ejected goes on to whoever brings it you bring in to pitch. It doesn't stop with Iglesias. Got some baseball left here. Just a 7th inning. Don't need to get them all in this inning, but it'd be nice to put something other than a 0 on the board here for the Reds. They've only scored 1 tonight on a bases loaded, nobody out sacrifice fly.
Digest this line for Raisel Iglesias. 6 innings, 6 runs. 6 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, all earned. No walks, 7 strikeouts, a home run ball, 3 hit batsmen, 95 pitches. Assess that.
Another one of those games where the line can be a little bit misleading, because I think he pitched better than what it appeared. You know, if you judge Iglesias inning by inning, how did he pitch in the first, how did he pitch in the second, so on, you know, 5 out of 6 innings he pitched excellent.
Burke Badenhop throwing in the Reds' pen. I mentioned earlier it's the 2nd longest outing for Iglesias. There's Badenhop. He went 8 innings of 1-run 2-hit baseball at home against Atlanta way back on the 13th of May. 5 2/3 his last time, 6 in this game. Billy flared one in the left center, and a base hit his last time. Way in at third is Carpenter. Wong, Peralta, no relay. Billy will run the bases with 1 out. The top of the order now, and Brandon Phillips. Pretty good split this year on Brandon Phillips in terms of what he has done at Great American Ballpark and what he has done on the road. Brandon at home this year hitting .217, coming into tonight's game on the road .324. A major difference there for him this season. Career-wise, he's about the same home and away, but this year, big advantage for him to play away from home. Hamilton going, and a foul ball out of play by Phillips. Well, if he's going to run, this is the team that he should do it against. He has been very good in his career against the Cardinals.
Well, when you steal bases against the Cardinals, you're stealing bases against the best.
Phillips has to fight that pitch off. Hamilton not running on that pitch. Yeah, it was the tail end of the 13 season when he made that initial steal against Yadier Molina as a pinch runner late in the game at Great American.
The Cardinals this year have allowed only 29 stolen bases overall. Put that in perspective. They are best in the league in that, by the way. And to put it in perspective, the Reds are 4th worst. They've allowed 64.
They'll get an out at first here. Hamilton in scoring position. Votto will have the chance.
Billy had to run around the charging second baseman right there to make sure he did not make contact with Colton Wong, who was coming in to field that ground ball. You got to give the fielder plenty of room. Even if you don't bump into him, if you somehow interfere with him fielding that ground ball, you're going to be called out.
Yeah, the fielder has the right of way.
Fielding a batted ball.
Here's Votto. A double, had been hit by a pitch. Bunted his last time, was initially given a sacrifice, then taken away by the official score, and what we thought was a correct scoring change. Looking for the RBI. Joey yesterday was on base 3 times via 3 walks. What it did do for him is end a streak of 5 consecutive games in which he had multi-hit games. Got that average up over 300 again. Slowly creeping up the list in terms of on base percentage this year in the National League. He came into tonight's game 3rd in that at 420. In walks, he's up to 3rd with 68.
Look at him moving way up in the batter's box here on a 3-0 count. Now Lynn, I don't know whether he mouthed something to Votto, said something, or just looked at him funny. Votto steps out of the box, but way up there in the box now. And choking up. A 3-0 Leo. Votto's giving Marty Foster the indication he didn't think that was a strike, and it wasn't.
Now Votto's back to his normal spot in the batter's box. And ball 4. So Votto draws his 69th walk of the year. And it'll be 2 on, 2 out for Frazier.
It's amazing that Lance Lynn wouldn't just come right after Joey Votto there, even on a 3-1 count. Now you've got the tying run coming to the plate in Todd Frazier, who has in his past hit 3 home runs off of Lance Lynn.
On the other hand, if you're Lynn, you had struck him out 13 times in 26 at bats coming into this game.
The batting average isn't much, but when he gets them, they go a long way.
Right. Let's hope he gets one here. If he does, it'll tie this game. Straight back and a foul ball. Frazier tonight struck out, walked, and struck out. Had a chance with a runner at second in the first and fanned. And with a runner at second in the 5th and also struck out. Reds are 1 swing away from being right back in this thing. Trailing 4-1 here in the 7th. Trying to snap a 5-game losing streak to this Cardinal club. Cardinals were part of that opening homestand. Remember when the Reds swept the Pirates and the Cardinals came in, the Reds swept the first game, or won the first game of that series 5-4. Lost the next two and then lost the three they played over here in April.
This is probably Lance Lynn's last batter. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They've had action in the Cardinal bullpen, although only a right-hander. Oh no, that's a left-hander. Is that Kevin Segrist?
Indeed,
and he is getting ready for Jay Bruce.
Ball three, and now it's 3-1.
Yeah, they've made Lynn work, and that's all the way going back to the third inning when he had a hit pitch, a walk, and a base hit that ended up getting the only Reds running in that inning.
Borderline strike, 3-2. Frazier doing a little complaining, it appeared there.
I can see why.
Runners will be on the move. Hamilton out at second, Votto over at first. At 3-2. That's going to be out of play. Reds 0 for 7 tonight with runners in scoring position. That has been a weak spot for them, not only this year, but in years past. Todd trying to come through. Reds led 1-0. Trail now 4-1. Then pushing now 115 pitches, and he delivers this next one. Here comes Johnson, and in foul ground he makes the play. Reds 0 for 8 in scoring position tonight. They leave a pair. Stretch time in St. Louis. $12. Then stick around after the game. Enjoy a spectacular fireworks show presented by PNC Bank. For tickets, 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or go to reds.com/tickets. As you can see, there is a rain coming down here in St. Louis.
Well, there has been rain in the vicinity. The grounds crew has already removed the cover on the tarp. They did that a few innings ago. The radar shows that there is a line of thunderstorms coming this way. I don't know if they're going to ride this thing out or what. Hopefully it's not going to mean much.
Meanwhile, a new pitcher on for the Reds.
Well, Burke Badenhop is coming on, and you talk about a guy that has really gotten it turned on here in the month of July. Not very good in April with an earned run average of 15. He gave up 4 runs, only pitched 8 innings. But in July, he's only given up 1 run in the 10 games in which he has appeared.
Well, he takes over for Raisel Iglesias, working here in the bottom of the 7th inning. He gets the offensive hero of this game if you're a Cardinal fan, Colton Wong, who had that grand slam back in the 4th. Top of the order, then Carpenter, then Peralta.
I can't recall the last city the Reds have visited where they have not seen rain at some time or another during the trip. Of course, it didn't matter when the Reds were in Miami, covered stadium there.
I don't remember if it rained when we were down there or not. It certainly rained in Washington earlier in that trip.
Rained a little bit in Colorado, but not enough to stop the game.
Deflected off the glove of Badenhop, and he recovers in time on the broken bat. Gets the out, 1-3 to start the bottom of the 7th.
Looks like one of those change-up line drives that comes at you, and he jams them, and you reach out, and then you think you got it, but you realize your hand's up there too quick. But he stays with it.
Badenhop worked the perfect inning yesterday. The only Reds pitcher, in fact, in that game that was able to retire the side in order in an inning. Here's Carpenter. Carpenter has a hit, sandwiched in between 2 fly ball outs to center. Lifts this ball to left center field. Bird on the run. He's not going to get it. That's a gap shot. That's going to be extra bases for Matt Carpenter. That is his 23rd double of the year. He leads the team in that department. The Cardinals are in business here in the bottom of the 7th.
You know, the way the Reds are swinging the bats, and what are they, 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position? You know, every one of these runs the Cardinals are going to try to tack on are huge. You've only got 2 more at bats. You cannot afford to give them much.
Peralta hitless tonight, 0 for 3. Flags it down, wide throw, but Votto makes a nice adjustment there to make the play.
It's a great way to describe that, in making an adjustment, because when you're a first baseman, you want everything chest high right on the bag, but what you should do is anticipate a bad throw every time.
Peralta gone. Carpenter stays put. Nice play by Votto. Here's Jason Hayward. Another big crowd tonight here at Busch. 42,553, keeping their streak alive this year. They have drawn over 40,000 every home game this year. Some of them out of their seats now, taking cover in a light rainfall. Badenhop trying to retire Hayward, get through the 7th. Carpenter a 1-out double earlier this inning. He's out at second base. Reds in the 8th. They'll have Bruce, Pena, Bird. Figures to be a new pitcher. Lance Lynn goes 7. 1 run, 5 hits. Cardinals had action in their bullpen earlier. They have action out there again. There's Segrist. And a 3-1. Ball 4 is an intentional delivery to Hayward. That goes down as an intentional walk. First walk given up in this game by the Reds. 2 on 2 out now for Tony Cruz, who took over for Yadier Molina with a pinch hit appearance in the 5th inning. Report out of the clubhouse that Molina was not feeling well. First pitch swinging Cruz. Suarez will take care of him, and Badenhop hangs a 0 in the bottom of the 7th. All right, thank you, boys. Back here at the ballpark in St. Louis, Busch Stadium, new pitcher on. This is Kevin Segrist, who takes over for Lance Lynn.
Well, Lance Lynn, pretty good outing for him. It looked like the Reds had him on the ropes 1 inning in the 3rd. They were only able to come up with 1. 7 innings of 5-hit, 1-run baseball for Lynn. He walked 3, struck out 5. He nailed down his 13th quality start of the year. That ties him with a lot of pitchers, including Mike Leake, who gets the ball tomorrow night for the Reds. In the meantime, left-hander Kevin Segrist, 51 games already for Segrist. This is the one warning flag that you have with the Cardinals, is the use of their bullpen and the number of appearances certain very important pitchers have already made. It's only July and you've already pitched in 50 games. That's going to the pen and going there a lot.
And in fact, he leads the major leagues in appearances with this number 51. What a stark change for this guy from a year ago to this year for Kevin Segrist as he gets Bruce to ground out here 4-3. Last year, an ERA approaching 7. This year, 1.39. Lefty gets the lefty. Now it's Pena who will turn around and bat from the right side. Bryant in the game is 0 for 3.
Well, Segrist last year, you know, you mentioned how bad a year he had overall, but he missed 2 months with a forearm problem. And they said that it never really felt good, even through the end of the season. But this year he has thrown the ball much, much better. 57 strikeouts in only 45 innings. So that's rare territory up there.
Pena takes strike 3 called, and he complains now to Marty Foster. We have seen a lot of complaining on both sides of the strike zone of the man in blue. You think he thought that was low? Because it didn't look that bad. Sixth strikeout for Cardinal pitching. Batter now is Marlon Byrd.
There's a little frustration going on, I think, over in that third base dugout. Sometimes the umpires get the brunt.
Don Long right there, the hitting coach of the Reds. Jay Bell in the background, the bench coach. There's Brian Price. Hayward tracking this. Near foul ground. He has room in foul territory. Reds retired an order for only the 2nd time in this game. And now they only have but 1 crack to go. Middle of the 8th. Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag Ohio Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. And there it is, Tim. Looking good, looking good. Our Data Strong fan of the game. This game looking good for those folks also here in St. Louis. Their Cardinals leading 4-1. New pitcher on, Jumbo Diaz.
Jumbo was a guy that the Reds are really depending on this year to be that 7th or 8th inning pitcher. And he floundered a little bit during the middle of the year, and the Reds sent him down in the beginning of June. Missed about 5 weeks on a stint when he went down to Louisville Bats. But he is back now. Pitched one time in Colorado, 2/3 of an inning, gave up an earned run after a couple of hits. But he has pitched much better since being recalled on July the 18th from down in the minor leagues.
Yeah, 5 appearances since that time, and the runs you talk about in Colorado, the first he had given up since his return. Stephen Piscotty leading things off here in the bottom of the 8th. Jumbo's job here is to keep the Cardinals at bay, keep it a 3-run game, giving the Reds a shot in the 9th inning. Trevor Rosenthal getting ready in the Cardinal bullpen. Reds will have up Suarez, a pinch hitter for Diaz, and then Hamilton, the bottom 3 of the order. Trailing at least by 3 going into the 9th. Piscotty a hit, a run scored. He's 1 for 3 tonight. Jumbo Diaz, you talked about him going down to Louisville. He did tremendous work down there. When he went down, an ERA of right in the 1.1 range. He took over the closer's job while he was down there. A 1.12 in 13 games and 8 saves. Light rain that had been falling now appears to have stopped here in St. Louis.
Well, the other good news, the grounds crew is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. Another hot, humid day tomorrow and Wednesday expected, though. Mid to upper 90s. Major humidity.
Well, we've been here for some very hot nights and days, and you know, I know it gets hot at Great American Ballpark. I don't think it gets quite as muggy as it does here in St. Louis, especially when the ballpark like this one, it is built down below street level, and it just seems to hang right in there, and it's not close enough to the Mississippi River really to get any kind of a breeze like you do at Great American.
You know, it's built as close to the interstate as I think you can get. Isn't that something, the way they squeezed it in here next to the old ballpark? In that fashion is very similar to what they did in Cincinnati. Right next to Riverfront when Great American. And here, right next to the old Busch, was New Busch.
Well, this is down in the part of town where they sell real estate by the inch.
Dan Johnson a hit tonight in 3.
Guy's been a lot of places in his career, a lot of different teams, including playing over in Japan. When he first came into the major leagues, Johnson, that was about 2006. For 2005, they thought he was going to be the starting first baseman for the Oakland A's. and he ended up having a hip labrum problem. When he did come back after that, he never really caught fire, and eventually was, after the 2008 season, or beginning of the 2008 season, he was released. Went on to Tampa Bay, then he went on to play a year in Japan, in the Japanese Central League for Yokohama. Back to Tampa Bay, the White Sox, Yankees, Orioles, Blue Jays. You mentioned a little bit of time that he had with the Reds in the AAA organization. That was after he signed a minor league deal with the Astros, and now with the Cardinals. 35 years old. Boy, that's sticking with it.
So all those early times in the big leagues, those are pre-Great Pumpkin days.
Yeah.
Giving Diaz a battle here in the bottom of the 8th inning with 1 out. Peter Borges on deck. Got it. Pena says that's good because that's the one I didn't like on me. I like to see it consistent on both sides. 2 out. This Saturday, see the Reds take on the Pirates for as low as $12, plus the first 25,000 fans in attendance receive a Devin Mesoraco bobblehead presented by St. Elizabeth Healthcare. For tickets, 513-381-REDS. Go to select Kroger locations or Reds.com/tickets. Borges up there now. Pinch hitter is on deck for the Cardinals. Mark Reynolds. You may see him in this series. Probably will see him in this series at some point. Start at first base. Diaz trying to have a perfect 8th. Mike Leake, we'll see him go tomorrow. Barring anything trade-wise going on. Late swing there by Borges. Votto handles it. Cardinals going in order in the 8th. Last crack at it for the Reds coming up here in the 9th. Pitching well.
Well, when he pitches well, it sure makes it look easy. I mean, almost effortless out there against the Cubs.
He's won 3 games in a row.
He has not allowed any of the swirling trade rumors where they have his name attached to it really bother him. You just wonder when he takes them out tomorrow, might it be the last time he takes them out for the Reds? The trade deadline is Friday.
Well, when you guys said that on Saturday about Johnny Cueto, it turned out to be true. Leake will take an 8-5 record into the game tomorrow night against the lefty Jaime Garcia. He's coming off the disabled list for the second time this year.
So here is Trevor Rosenthal. He's the closer in a save situation. 45 games now for Rosenthal. He's another one of these Cardinal pitchers that has really carried a big workload the last couple of years. Last year, 72 games. The year before that, 74 games. 45 saves last year. He's already got 30 of them in the book now.
30 for 32 saves this year. The last blown save he had not that long ago. In fact, it was the last day of the first half of the season against the Pirates in Pittsburgh in that 6-5 loss in 10 innings, which allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, and 2/3 of an inning. Saved the game, but allowed a run his last time out against Kansas City. That was on Thursday. And he disposes of Suarez for the first out here in the ninth. Don't forget Fox Sports Live with news and highlights from around the world of sports, including the latest surrounding the MLB trade deadline. That's tonight. Plus, is a decision near for Tom Brady and Deflategate. It's Fox Sports Live tonight on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Skip Schumacher, and he gets a nice hand from the Cardinal crowd. It's been 3 years since he played here, but they remember the great things that Schumacher did here in St. Louis.
And it was the kind of things that you really can't quantify. Little things that Schumacher brings to the table that really are more appreciated on a winning ball club than on a team that is just trying to tread water.
Drafted by the Cardinals back in 01 out of UC Santa Barbara. Played with the Cardinals from 05 through 2012. A couple of World Series titles in there. Comes into this game leading the big leagues with 13 pinch hits. Batting here for Jumbo Diaz. Handled out and left by Piscotty. 2 out. Billy Hamilton represents the last chance for the Reds in this opener here in St. Louis of this 3-game series. Reds fail tonight, and they'll need a win both tomorrow night and Wednesday night to split this road trip. And also need wins tomorrow night and Wednesday night in order to snap a streak of 9 straight losing series in St. Louis, dating back to September of 2011. This and Denver, as we talked about on the top of the broadcast, very, very tough places for the Reds to play and win. Billy clearly down 2 strikes.
Well, this year it's an especially tough place for anybody to come in here and win. You're well over halfway through the season. They have only lost 13 games here in St. Louis.
Reds took a 1-0 lead in the third on a sac fly by Bruce and had the bases loaded, nobody out, and gave up a grand slam in the bottom of the fourth. The Colton Wong. It ends the way it is now. Boy, you'll really look back at that third inning, kick yourself for not getting more. Peralta. Johnson. Game is over. 31st save of the year for Trevor Rosenthal. Win number 8 for Lance Lynn. Raisel Iglesias falls to 1-3 as the Cardinals win the first game of this series and in the process get their 64th win of the year. They are triumphant 4-1 over Cincinnati here tonight at Busch. We'll be back with more in a moment.